Of course, the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, that whole thing with seeing the table talk, and of course the slap that happened at the Oscars, and all of us speculating on where did that come from and what was that all about, and her sort of sneer and rolling of the eyes when that joke was made. And then of course Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are in court right now, and I've been watching that. Breaking into that is the story of Black China and her case against the Kardashians. In all of these cases, you have these women who, fit a stereotype of narcissists. Narcissistic females, it's the same stuff as with a man. I mean, they'll have all those same traits of lack of empathy and entitlement, and they lie, and they're all grandiose. All three of them are grandiose. That are more specific to women. Vanity, for one thing. These are women who care a lot about their appearance. They'll be hypersexual when the relationship begins, so that, sexuality is a big thing they use to love bomb. And then a lot of times what happens is it'll fizzle out as the relationship goes on, and it becomes a weapon. It becomes something they withhold and they use as a weapon to try and manipulate the man's behavior. They gossip. With men, we don't so much think of it as gossip as we think of it as a smear campaign, but in both cases it's sort of the same thing. But women, gossiping is something they can kind of get away with because it's maybe not that unusual for women to share and talk and da-da-da. And so gossip but it's a very destructive thing. And in these relationships, what you can see happening is that there's a lot of shaming of the masculine in these relationships. One commonality that I see in all three of these people is that these women are very masculine. These women are very much in their masculine energy. And there's some speculation on where this comes from. They say this might come from having an absent or a very weak father figure, and so they figured out somewhere along the way that they had to be powerful themselves. I don't know, and I think for a lot of us empathic people, it can be a little bit dangerous for us to even get into speculating on why they are the way they are, because the fact of the matter is that when we're adults, all of us have a decision to make about what kind of a person we're going to be. So yes, of course, it's really sad that a person is abused, but we were abused too, and we're not abusing other people. We made a decision to not go and hurt other people. So, it is interesting to know where it comes from, if you can think about that without getting sucked in to, trying to change it. Because just like men, narcissistic females are not likely to change. These women also seem to be very jealous. They're very envious of their husband's fame and influence and the roles they get and their career that they've had and all that. In Kardashian's case, not so much. He basically just has the money and the name. But in the, and we wouldn't know who Black China is had she not been with him. And it's the same is true with Amber Heard and Jada. I can't even think of her name. And Jada Pinkett Smith. I had never heard of Amber Heard. I wouldn't have any idea who she was if it wasn't for the fact that she was involved with Johnny Depp. And Jada, same thing. I can't name a single film that she's been in. I don't, nothing. I maybe sort of recognized her from an old sitcom or something, but really not much of a recollection of who she is. Nothing like the career that Will's had. Now, Will has this story that he tells about how she sacrificed her career. No doubt this is the story coming from her, that she sacrificed her career for her marriage and all this stuff. That's BS. She didn't sacrifice anything for him. She probably wasn't very well liked. Probably people didn't want to work with her. But anyway, she didn't have a successful career. Another common trait is that they have a hard time regulating their emotions. Now, if you were watching the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, it really is a tutorial on how this kind of relationship can go. I do not see him as the aggressor. I do not see him as the abuser. But what I do see is that he got seduced in by getting involved with a woman 22 years younger than him, who, no doubt came on. There were a million red flags about her. A million red flags. I mean, she had a domestic violence charge before. She was bisexual and involved with someone already, as was he. They were both involved with someone else. And there were just a lot of red flags. It was a messy thing from the very beginning, and they were having a lot of conflict and a lot of problems before they got married. It wasn't like this was new. And right after they got married, they had this terrible fight, and he cut his finger off. I mean, it's really, really bad abuse. And Amber was recording all of this behind his back, which I don't really understand why, because it doesn't flatter her at all. I mean, these recordings are just as bad for her. Because she was recording everything, it seems like there should be a real silver bullet recording of this blatant abuse, and that has yet to show up. But I think that she might really believe that she is being abused, because in her mind, she's entitled to a certain amount of devotion, and what they feel entitled to is really outrageous. And they actually say that female narcissists are not as entitled as male narcissists, but it's hard to say. On her 37th birthday, he started planning her 40th birthday, and for 3 years, he planned this thing, and he did all this research on her family heritage, and made this whole film about her, and just did all of this stuff, and really planned this thing out. And when it was over, she was angry at him. She told him that it was such a embarrassment and so overdone, and that he did it for himself. He did it so people would be impressed with him and all this stuff, which is just awful. It's just awful to hear, and heartbreaking. And then with Amber, there were equally stories like that. For instance, on her 30th birthday, Johnny got really bad news about money being stolen, like a lot of money, and it was going to affect him in a big way, and affect his kids in a big way. And he just found out about that as he was, on his way to Amber's birthday party. So he got involved in a meeting, and it took, so he was late. He was late to the party, and she just laid into him about how he was, late to her party, and that this was her priority. Granted, I'm sure that she would care about the money too, but somehow he was supposed to overlook all of that for the day because it was her birthday. And, she also did things that reminded me so much of my experiences when my husband would pick just these days so that the nasty things he was doing would be doubly painful. So she, split up with him right after his mother died, for instance. And the lying too, like apparently in their divorce settlement, she got $7 million from him, and said she didn't even want it. She didn't even need it. She was going to donate it to charity, which she never did, of course. And so narcissists will a lot of times get all that they want to get out of just saying something, out of just saying it and having everyone give them the feedback. Because what they care about really is they care about the public opinion, being able to manage perceptions. So they don't really care about what their intimate partners think or believe or what's really true. They care about what the outer people, the general people, perceive to be true. And so they will say things just to manage perceptions without any truth to it at all, and not really care about what damage it might be doing to someone. And this is a thing that you notice also with all 3 of these women, is that they really do not seem to care about these men at all, and are willing to humiliate them, are willing to, break their hearts, are willing to just, really, just stomp on their feelings, and it's just heartbreaking to see. And, we don't know what, men maybe they'll seem like really, masculine and strong and powerful in films and things like that, but you don't know what somebody's like in their private life. And in the case of Amber and Johnny, even the therapist spoke about it, and you could see from his testimony that he's a very soft-spoken person. He speaks slowly, he speaks quietly, he stutters, and he has sort of an artistic way of looking at things, and so he kind of meanders around in his conversations and all that kind of stuff. And Amber was characterized as having a backhammer way of talking and talks over him. And so he he has this real need to be heard. Johnny had come from an abusive home, and his mother was very abusive, very narcissistic, and his father was very passive. He learned this defense mechanism of just sort of disappearing, withdrawing into himself, and avoiding the conflict. And with Amber, what was difficult about that is that she had big abandonment wounds, and so she would follow him. You know, like if he just left the argument and went and sat in a bathroom and locked the door, she would beat on the door because she wanted the argument to continue, because as a narcissist, just the attention and the chaos and all of that interaction, the argument is what they want. They want the narcissistic supply. But on top of that, she had this abandonment wound, and so she didn't like being walked out on. And you know, they have a big control thing. And so Amber, you can just see it, she has this thing where she pushes people away. She just makes it impossible for them to want to be with her. And then, you know, she makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy that she's going to end up being abandoned. And, you know, it's very problematic. I see that she now has a daughter. You know, that I was so concerned when I heard that. You know, I didn't think she had any children, and then I saw it in the comments, and sure enough, she had a daughter by, you know, surrogate. And this is not a person that should have children. She is clearly very, very disturbed, and, you know, just has none of the traits that a mother needs. She's impatient. Has no empathy. I haven't seen any tendency she can love. She's angry. She's violent. Really, really bad and dangerous. And that poor kid doesn't stand a chance. This is just not the kind of person that should have a child. Of course, they all do. You know, this is the thing, because that's another status symbol. I didn't watch the Rob and China show, but apparently there was a lot of overt abuse going on, even on the show. Apparently, she is admitted in court to doing things like holding a gun to his head and thinking, you know, as a joke, thinking it was funny, and, you know, just really abusive things. And this whole case that she has in court right now is because she's saying that the Kardashians cost her all this money because they didn't get to do season 2 of their show, the Rob and China show. But the fact of the matter is that they had broken up, had a very toxic and violent relationship, so their relationship was already broken up, and they couldn't really very well have a show. Apparently her claim is that they had enough episodes in the can that they should have just played them, and then she would have gotten paid for all of those episodes. These women just don't seem to understand where real power is and where their power as women is, because they're acting very, very masculine. I mean, and what's so hard about that is that in the way that our society has gone, there is no place for a man to go. You know, if a woman is going to be abusive to a man, he has, you know, really 2 options. He can either be passive and pull out and try and avoid it, or he can be called an abuser. Because the minute that he does anything back, like he would with another man, you know, he'd square off with another man, have a discussion, whatever, and if they couldn't come to some resolution, it would end up getting physical. Well, none of that can happen when you're with a woman, or immediately it becomes an abuse situation. And these women also are ones that would definitely use that to manipulate. Now, the only one I know of that's done that is Amber, but, you know, you can just see that they would. And, you know, Jada now, it's just awful to see that she's completely thrown Will under the bus. She's set him up to feel less of a man, to feel like his masculinity was not what it should be, or, you know, and here he is, this, you know, guy who played, you know, Muhammad Ali and all these really super masculine roles, and he's super successful in a man's world, totally successful, and this little 5-foot-tall woman has just demeaned him and cut him off at the knees and made him feel like he's nothing. He has to prove himself. And it's just amazing the amount of power that is, and how misused it is. One reason that a man will stay too long is because they have this sense that they're supposed to fix things. Men will stay around trying to fix it. pointless venture with a narcissist because they won't be able to fix it. And nothing they do will ever be enough. Or I'll get her a house and then it won't be big enough. And then you're just trying to keep giving more and more and more, and nothing is ever good enough. She keeps moving the goalposts. And the thing that you really notice as an empathic person or something is just the level of entitlement and the lack of empathy that these women have, because any normal person would not be jealous or envious of their husband. They would be proud. They would be proud, and they would be encouraging him and wanting the very most for him, wanting him to be successful in his life, and not feeling like that, and feeling like that was something she could also be proud of. And it wouldn't be, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, is it that they want to be with someone less successful than them? I don't think so, because they wouldn't be happy with that financially, or they wouldn't be happy with that in terms of the fame. They want the fame, they want all of that. So it's very, very interesting. But these guys who are super successful and totally dominating the man's world just really have a wound that these women really hone in on.
Realize